If you are like any of the hundreds of thousands of people who are currently thinking about selling their house but don't know where to turn, you're in the right place, because I have got a guide for you. I did this for a buyer's guide not too long ago, but I wanted to follow that up with a home seller's guide that is applicable towards our markets in Oklahoma City in the fall of 2023. Obviously, things change all the time, but it is critically important that you stay up to date with all of the current trends, with all of the current market data, with all of the current knowledge, so you can net the highest amount for your house. Brokerage fees sometimes can be a turnoff, and people like to sell for sale by owner. And if that's the case, you can use this guide as a blueprint to go out and to make sure that you're maximizing your net. But I would sincerely urge you to lean into a real estate professional, because we are trained on this, we are licensed. If there is any legal fiascos that's developed out of it, guess who gets to deal with that? Us, not necessarily you. So all that aside, that's my one disclaimer, but let's dive right into this. I want to show you how you can sell your house in 2023 and make sure not to leave one red penny on the table. All right. Before we go any further, I would love it if you would just click that little subscribe button down below, like this video if you've gotten any value from it, and hell, tag somebody down below. So despite what you have heard or what you might be reading in the news, we are still in a seller's market, all right? Which can be a good thing for those of you who are looking to sell your house. The three main factors in selling are price, location, and condition. So those are the only three things that you can change. And quite frankly, two of those, you can't really change that much. You can't change the location of your house. You can change and affect the condition to an extent, but the one thing that is going to be the deciding factor of how fast you sell 99% of the time is going to be the price. It is critical and imperative that you are basing your price off of reasonable data. You got to run comps in the same way that an appraiser is going to run these. Now, so how do you do that? It's a good question. So what you do is you've got to use the same number of bedrooms. You got to go plus or minus half a bath. You got to be 15%, sometimes appraisers are going to give you 20%, higher or lower of the total square footage. And you have to have at least one comp from the subdivision. It has to be from the area in which you are living, or at least where the house is. You can't say, oh, well, my neighbor's house, which is a completely, different build and twice the size or whatever the case may be. You got to be reasonable with this, because guess what? A buyer is going to be doing the same thing, or a buyer's agent rather. They're going to be running their numbers in the same fashion that the listing agent is. And so putting a number out there and just hoping that somebody buys it is not a good strategy, right? Your strongest time to get the highest amount is in the first 2 weeks. So if you've overpriced your house, then it could be the kiss of death, and you do not want a snake-bitten property in this market. Homes are sitting longer and longer. We're getting less viewings, less showings, less offers, but homes are still selling. So despite what everybody is saying, it is still a seller's market, and it is a great time to sell. So I don't want to be cliche, it's just straight up facts. So the sale and the supply. All right, supply being inventory, being the amount of homes that we have. We are still low, and that is part of the reason we are in a seller's market, is because there's just not a lot of homes on the market. And so those of you that have homes that are in the mid-range from 200 to 350K, you put that on the market, man, and you are likely going to be under contract within a week. That is, if you price it well, if it is in a good area, if it's in good condition. So again, those three factors of what sells a house. So right now, equity is a game changer on why people are selling their house. Now, what is equity, you might ask? Equity is the value of your home minus what you owe left on the loan. I know that most everybody knows this, but just for those who are watching that they might not know what that is, then here's a freebie. Boom, that's what equity is. In the pandemic, home prices and home values rose dramatically. So people ended up with an absolute ton of equity, and they're using that equity to roll that over into their next purchase, because they may not be cash heavy that they could go purchase that next home. But guess what? Chances are if they bought in 2020, they have around $100,000 of equity, and boom, bang, boom, now they got a new house. All right, let's get into the nuts and bolts. Preparing your home. All right, so you've already made the conscious decision that you are going to sell, right? Yes. Now, if you're selling and you're not going to hire a realtor, or you're going FSBO, or whatever the case is, that's fine. If you want this checklist that I have, write the word checklist in the comments down below and I'll send you what I have that I like to give to my sellers. And it breaks down like this. So you want to make it inviting. Open up the blinds, declutter, take any of your personal effects down. You want to show that it's cared for. Wipe down all of the baseboards, vacuum off the vents, organize your countertops, your cupboards. Declutter is the name of the game, man. You want to Marie Kondo that house so it shows that you have taken care of the house. Go ahead and touch up any scuffs on the walls, get a can of paint and go to town. Just make sure that it looks pristine. Now, boosting your curb appeal is often one of the cheapest and most effective things that you can do because this is the time for your home's first impression. You want to power wash any outdoor surfaces, get rid of all that grime and muck. Make sure, this is a big one, wash the windows inside and out. If they're double hung, crack those babies down, scrub them out. It will make a world of difference. Tidy up any landscaping, pop over to the hardware store. You can buy some really cheap annuals for, $3 to $5 a pop. Drop those in, put some mulch on top. It really, really, really makes a world of difference. Yank out any dead stuff. We just had a freeze here, so personally, I lost just half of my garden. So if you got anything that's dead, yank it. Staging is another question that I get asked a lot. Should I stage my house? My answer is, it depends. What's the price point that you're selling at? What is the overall condition of the house when it's butt naked? Does it need it? Can you afford it? A lot of times the staging companies go on monthly contracts usually, or per room. It can make a world of difference, and I've got some great stagers. Liv Boho, Maggie Barnes, if you're watching, shout out to you because you do a bang up job. So yeah, it can work, and sometimes it's not necessary. Now, because I am a licensed real estate agent, I do recommend that you hire a realtor, whether it's me or your best friend or your realtor, right? Make sure that somebody has your back, okay? Because I personally have seen hundreds of people that have decided they were going to do it by themselves to save that 6%, who either didn't net what they thought that they could or what we could have gotten them as a real estate agent through all of our marketing and professional resources, or lawsuits, man, litigation. That is a huge one. If you've hired a real estate agent, you have protection, right? The brokerage is responsible for the transaction, and we owe fiduciary duties to you, our clients. And so it is well worth the investments. And again, oftentimes you can net more and offset those brokerage fees if you hire a trusted real estate agent. We got all that taken care of. So the next step is to price your home. Again, you have got to rely on market data. You cannot just say, yo, my neighbor sold his house for $600,000, so shit dang, I'm gonna do it too. It doesn't work like that. You've got to rely on solid comps, right? Go by what an appraiser goes by. And make sure, for the love of God, price it competitively. Again, the pie in the sky numbers they're not gonna work, all right? Let's face it, it's 2023, it's November. That time is no longer here. So price it competitively so you are not sitting stagnant on the market. You want to sell, you made that decision, right? All right, so the next step we're on to is marketing. You have got to take crisp, clean, professional photos. Hire a photographer. Again, if you got a listing agent, they're gonna be hiring them for you and they're gonna know the best in the area. But I swear to God, if I see another iPhone picture on a nice listing, I'm gonna go nuts. Because you want to represent your house to the best of its ability. I know that iPhones take great photos, but there are so many things that happen in post-production where a professional real estate photographer, they will do that, and unless you're a Adobe Photoshop whiz, I don't think you know how to do that. Or, not you specifically, but the collective you. So take good pictures, get a photographer, hire them out, make sure that they're doing drone. You have got to have drone photography, and more to the point, you got to have video. You got to have an HD video of that house. These are the things that are selling right now. I do this for all of my clients, whether it's a $50,000 house or a $5 million house. I will make sure to make just a metric shitload of video content of each house, because that is how you can effectively show this property to the masses. Now, if you've got a really banging place and you want to do a virtual walkthrough, there's a company called Matterport. They do really, really good ones where you can send a person a link that is on the other side of the world and they can virtually walk through your house. They can look at different aspects and angles. They can see the floor plan. It's a really useful tool. So, contemplate that. Your online presence is very important. You want this thing circulating through the socials: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever. Everywhere that it possibly can be, you want your home to be there. The currency of impressions is real. You want this thing to just be plastered everywhere, so everywhere somebody looks, they see it. Again, in my marketing spend that I use for my clients, I go through Google ads, I go through Meta, so Facebook and Instagram ads. So anybody that has looked at that house, it will follow them and it will continue to show them photos of that house. I like it to get inside your head, but no, legit, make sure that it's everywhere. So now, next step, when the offers start to roll in, now this is the time to negotiate, right? And you gotta be very keen and sharp when it comes to this step, because I've seen a lot of people just get rolled over by the other side, and that is not what you wanna do. All right, this is a professional negotiation with a lot of people who are extraordinarily skilled. You know, we spend a lot of time making sure that we are up to date with the best possible information. Personally, man, I'm in weekly trainings on salesmanship, negotiating, contract law, all that stuff. But when it comes to negotiating, make sure that you are looking out for your bottom line. Don't get excited because you're like, oh man, we got an offer. You know, let's not let them go. Make sure to stand firm, but give a little, get a little, right? I'm not going to give you all my tricks. However, be sure that you are effectively and accurately representing yourself. Review all the offers. Make sure that you've read that contract from top to bottom, first letter to last letter, because there are different places in our Oklahoma Real Estate Commission contracts that I've had a lot of sellers that have been FSBO that have overlooked them, and they thought, oh my gosh, we signed this offer, but I didn't realize that we agreed to a $10,000 concession, or we ended up giving them closing costs because I didn't read it, but we signed it. These are legal binding documents. These are contractual obligations, and you want to make sure that you have read them backwards and forwards and you understand them implicitly, right? So review the offers, read them thoroughly, make sure that you know what the buyer is asking for. You're going to have a few different things in these offers. You're going to have contract amounts or contracted sales price, length of escrow, typically a 30-day close on a conventional FHA or VA loan. They can go faster, but that's standard. If it's a cash deal, sometimes they can close them in 10 days. You're gonna have an inspection window, usually a 14-day window. So that is your inspection contingency window. Within those 14 days, the buyer has every right to go into the house and to inspect it, to hire, whether it's a roofer, a plumber, an electrician, an HVAC, a foundation guy, any of those things, that's his legal right per the contract to come in and do in those first 14 days. Now, mind you, once the inspection contingency is over, they no longer are entitled to that earnest money. So the earnest money, again, is the 1% usually that's delivered and held in escrow that states it's like good faith money for the buyer. But they will be able to get that money back if they bail on the contract. If, say, you're in inspection, you go through negotiations on repairs and you're not willing to do something that they're asking for, they can say, well, the inspections were unsatisfactory, so we're leaving the contract, we're getting our earnest money back, and then the seller, you, are going back to market and starting back at square one. I will say as a caveat that if I look at a listing that's busted once, twice, thrice, and it's not on money, it's not because the buyer couldn't get financing, and it is on inspections, that's a huge red flag, because that means that the seller is either hiding something or unwilling to make any proper adjustments. Every home has issues, whether it's a brand new house or a 100-year-old house. There is going to be things that need fixed. There are going to be items that come up on that TRR that the buyer is then expecting to be repaired, replaced, remedied, whatever. So just know that you're likely going to need to either make some of those repairs, replacements, remedies, or to give concessions in lieu of repairs, because again, this is all the negotiation. The negotiations really don't stop through the whole process. It's not just negotiating the contract price. Like I said earlier, it's repairs, it's appraisal, it's this, it's that. So it's a fluid dynamic. Just so know that you have the authority and the power to counter their offers, right? Say that they come in and they offer you something that's just not acceptable to your terms, hit them with a counter, right? On that $420,000 house, they come in at $380, counter back. So then everything is done. You've finalized all of the repairs and the appraisal is good and everybody's happy. Boom, you're moving to closing. So one thing that I like to make sure that the sellers know is remember to shut off your utilities, right? Whatever the day of close is, cut your utilities, cable, gas, electric, water, sewer, trash, everything. Make sure it's done, because if you forget, you're not gonna get that money back and you're gonna be paying for your buyers' laundry, Gilmore Girls, things like that. So just make sure you cut that stuff off. Show up maybe 10, 15 minutes early to title, and you'll give them a couple forms of ID, and you are most likely going to be getting paid. So determine if you want a cashier's check or if you want it just wired into your accounts. So be aware that depending on what your financial situation is and what the transaction amount was, you might have capital gains tax. So that can be anywhere from 0 to 20%. So just you're gonna know this way before you close, obviously, but keep that in mind. Run things by your CPA if necessary. So you'll go into usually a separate room from the buyer and you'll sign your deed over, you'll sign the title over and all that stuff. Legally, ownership transfers at closing table or at close. So once you have got that wet signature done and out, you have officially and legally transferred the ownership to the buyer. So there you have it. That is how to sell your house. Now, again, there are so many different facets to this that I didn't touch on or didn't go into, but I just wanted to make something that people could use as a guide. Again, if you're selling a for sale by owner, or maybe you're taking care of a transaction for a family member, whatever the case is, now you have something that you can reference as a guide to get you from point A to point B, and then further down the line to Z. Now, again, shameless plug, if you are at all curious about the process or want to talk to a professional, my number and my contact info is down below. I'd be more than happy to come by and we can sit down and have a consultation. There's also a Calendly link running around here somewhere where you can book a time that works for you, and we'll sit down and talk about what your goals are. If you got a property, if you've got friends or whatever, and we can make sure that you are taken care of, because ultimately that's what my goal is to take care of my clients. I'm here to make relationships, not transactions. The transactions are important, yes, but I care about the long-term relationship as a whole. And you can ask any of my clients that always run, you guys are all family, those of you who I've worked with in the past. So thank you very much. Please stick around for the next video. Drop your comments below, man. What do you guys want me to do next? Do you have any questions about this? Do you have any questions about that? And that's it, man. All right, be well.